what I want to present you today is a really huge project where we delivered in the last few months. We did a great teamwork together with SUSE, and we provide a real project here where we set up HANA landscape, and I'm talking about a huge transformation. The customer, and you will see that later, runs a data center where they're using about 1,000 SAP systems. And as you know, the line of businesses are getting the innovation from the SAP HANA code, so they want to go forward with HANA. And I will first start a little bit about doing and showing you where IBM is right now with the HANA on Power Play, what are the benefits from our platform before I go to the use case. So my name is Carsten Dieterle. I'm an IT architect from IBM. I'm since 22 years in IBM, and since that's the time always working in the SAP space. I'm a certified SAP consultant, and I can as well doing migrations. I was also certified for this, but I changed my role from the service part to the architectural part 10 years ago, and I'm since the first time since HANA was born, 2010, 2011, in that space as well. And most of you probably know that IBM had also a very good solution when HANA gets started on the market with the now sold solution from Lenovo. We sold our Systemic solution to Lenovo, but we had as well a good solution when HANA started. So that is the agenda. I will do really a short introduction about HANA on Power, where we are. Probably most of you know, right now it's in the same time running in Barcelona is the SAP TechEd, where SAP announced today the new version of SAP HANA. They call it SAP HANA 2. So you will see as well there the roadmap from IBM and SAP together, especially the roadmap where what we have regarding SUSE 12 and the little engine enablement. Some tools for the cloud, what we have there, because we are using a cloud infrastructure. That means the line of business users use a web front end, or even the IT administrators use a web front end, and they have to insert some requirements, but then the solution is completely deployed without interaction. History of or SAP history, or especially SAP HANA history, test innovation program, and then I will show you really the project, how we set it up, and what are the next steps, especially high availability, disaster recovery. We are right now in the phase where we set up disaster recovery with SUSE HA solution, and together with subsystem replication. So here, that's just a file where you see the history from SAP HANA on Power System, IBM Power Systems. So as you can see on the file on the right side, we get it G8 last year in August. But what is very important for me and as well for IBM, we have a long history where we already showed the market and the customers that HANA on Power is also running not only in x86. So it was, or I have always said thanks to the customers, because IBM customers who are running SAP on traditional IBM with Oracle or DB2, they are very satisfied to run that solution that's stable, very flexible and all that stuff, and that customer forced SAP as well to bring HANA on Power available. So we did the development early in 2013, and we had the code running end of 2013, beginning of 2014 already. But as you see here, we had a 1 year and a half where we needed the time to get to the official GA. Especially, you will see that later because I will talk about that. We did a so-called test and innovation phase together with some customers, and that was very important for IBM and SAP to build up the solution with a selected number of customers, great customers, big customers, and we showed that in end of November in the so-called test innovation phase. Later we get, in 2015, we get G8, and since last year in November, we get fully supported for HANA on the Power platform as well on x86. Even this year, when SAP announced the new release of S/4HANA, their new product, IBM, and that was really, really interesting with HANA on Power, was earlier announced for G8 than the x86 platform, even that we are only 1 year available with the solution. The main difference between our solution and x86 is normally that we do not build a solution based on an appliance. We build it up, it's so-called the only version for HANA on Power is built up on a tailored data center integration. That is the synonym SAP talks about it. That means the customer has the choice of freedom to select his own SAN storage enterprise devices. He can use his own network favorite devices. Virtualization is available on Power as well. So you have just to select certified server models that are available for the solution. A view from the market is that most of the customer as well on the x86 platform are now running HANA as well in the tailored data center approach. That is also available on x86. That's not only a Power Play or IBM Power Play, but at the beginning it was only delivered with a certified, well-known configuration. Here you see the highlights or the current status about SAP HANA on Power. So that means the complete SAP solution stack is supported. Even the newest product S/4HANA, and probably some of you know, the new called BW for HANA is also available on Power, so that was announced end of August. For very great customer, big installation, as well a Scaleout solution is available for BW. That means when the database don't fit into one single LPAR, so you have to split it to different LPARs. We have some special requirements regarding the core to memory ratio, but you will see that later, that we, with our core to memory ratio, we are doubled so good that the x86 platform. We have completely full virtualization allowed on the Power platform as we run our Power servers in the traditional SAP area where we have Oracle and DB2 installed. So that is as well a big advantage from the Power platform. Here's some other workloads. As you saw in the slide before, we have not really requirements when we are not talking about real production workload. When we have development test systems, you can do whatever you do on the Power platform as well as you do it right now. So you have not to use the core to memory ratio, what you see before. So that is just only for the production environment. And even as you see it on the last slide, you can use different file system to attach it to the servers and to make it happen with the backend storage. So really, you have the freedom of choice to run it as the customer wants to do it. The last announcement, and we did that yesterday, and that is a really big advantage of the Power platform. That is that you can run now on our enterprise servers maximum 8 dedicated HANA LPARs only. or you run 7 and you use the rest of the server in the shared pool as we suggest. That's the best solution, because you also need, beside your HANA database, you also need application servers to make the application really usable. On the x86 platform, we have now, the limitation that you can run under VMware 6.0 only one productive HANA LPAR. So this was announced, and we are really in very strong relationship with SAP to open not only to 8 LPARs, to open it as much as the customer wants to install on the server, because the customer knows the workload and the requirements of his installations best. There was a question?
The dedicated donating or purely dedicated?
They are dedicated donating. So you can use dedicated or dedicated donating. So we suggest to use dedicated donating. So that means your resources that you are not using are going back to the shared pool. And that what I said before, dedicated donating is a small restriction of our Power VM virtualization. So we want to show SAP that we can run as well HANA productive LPARs completely full virtualized. So we need more, how will I say, more customer as this one who shows SAP that we do not have to run it with the core to memory ratio, because we did it in the beginning, but they said, okay, our machine is idling so much, or our LPAR, we grow the core to memory ratio now, and it works.
When do you think, or is there any work to release the restriction of this core to memory ratio of 58 to 4?
I cannot say that to you, because it's always the responsibility, and even as you see on the next slide, the roadmap for SAP HANA and Power, that's in the responsibility from SAP. I only can say what we as IBM do to bring SAP to that they accept HANA as a workload as all other workloads. So we see HANA not as a special workload. You know, you have to, when you are talking about in-memory database, you have at least to reserve the necessary memory that the database fits in the memory. But with the Power VM virtualization and this hypervisor, you always get necessary CPU resources when you need it. So you do not have to bring it into the LPAR, and even if the LPAR is idling, you cannot use it for other workload. That's not as we run Power servers right now. So, and we want to bring that with customer experiences to SAP to open that completely.
We run an 85 gig core to memory ratio for BW.
Yeah, I will show you later some files where you see where in which direction we are. We are more than 200, so then it works. So that is the suggested way, as you see draw. We have seven productive LPARs, and the rest of the cores are in a shared pool where you can install IBM AX or i5OS when you have that also in your data center, or you can even install Linux application server that are connected to the different HANA databases. So that's how we think it's the best way to set up HANA and Power. And we want now to, as you can see it here, dedicated or dedicated donating LPARs. We also want this break up and have all in the shared pool, that we have a completely freedom of the choice.
Can I answer? When you show HANA QA or dev, you're running on SLES.
Yeah. Q and dev is always running in the shared pool. You have not to make dedicated or dedicating donated LPARs. That's only for production. So test and development is always running completely in the shared pool. No.
But the OS is SLES, right? SUSE.
It's only SUSE, yeah.
Forever? Yeah, it's never?
No, I will not see that, no. No. No.
No possible?
No. No. SAP, you see, at the beginning, SAP HANA was built in an appliance, x86, only SUSE Linux. So then they opened it to Red Hat as well. Then they opened it for another hardware platform, but I do not see that they will change the operating system layer, which is pure Linux right now, to AX. No, I do not see that, and SAP has no plans, because you will see here that's the official roadmap from last week from SAP. We are right now on the way to bring up SUSE 12 with the announcement today, so that's very important for us, because that's the migration from SUSE 11, which is a big engine operating system on the Power platform, to a little engine. So that's very important for IBM that we have that right now, but no other operating system. So what you see here, operating system more option. What is coming next year, of course, that's Red Hat. So that will come. Especially I'm from Europe, so we do not have that much Red Hat customers in Europe, but I think probably here in the US market, Red Hat is more probably as well a common operating system. So as well, we will enable Red Hat next year. But this is, or the reason why we didn't enable the Red Hat now is because we first want to change to the little engine HANA system, and then we can enable Red Hat 7, which is also a little engine with HANA on Power. So that's the reason. So yeah, we have some other possibilities regarding our hardware technology. Probably some of you knows that we have our Power copy enablement, which is a PCI adapter, special protocol to adapt flash system with that PCI adapter, and we can, with the copy protocol, we can play the game that the server sees the flash storage as memory. So that's a huge amount of memory, and SAP is very interesting in this kind of technology, because they have in their enterprise cloud, they have huge installations, so they do not have only to bring up huge memory servers, so they can use as well flash storage for enabling that, because even in an SAP system, what we see right now in HANA, there are much memory in the database that is only used once or very seldom. So you have it in the memory, but you do not use it in the memory. So that's what we see as well in the traditional space. When the customer has set up installation with DB2 or Oracle, the hit radio from their clients, when they doing transaction on the database, they're always in the memory. So it makes not sense to bring all the data in memory. And that's a solution with the copy interface to make a tiering of the data from the memory, bring only a small or the half part of the database in the memory, and use the other part on cheaper but very low latency attached flash storages. So that is what we, or the middle of the chart is what we will announce now, or what we see with the SP HANA 2 version, what was announced today. And you see on the right side some further directions. We talked already about Red Hat and the new technology about copy, but as well Power9. Probably some of you knows that already. We have announced that we will see Power9 next year, so we will as well enable Power9 with HANA Power. So now going back to the project for the customer, because you will see that later, he has really 1,000 SAP sits installed in his data center. So he needs a tool, an orchestration tool, where he can deploy not only the operating system, where he can also deploy storage and also the application. And that, you see that here, on different platforms. So he decided, and we were the only vendor who could provide that. We opened or decided to install a so-called IBM Cloud Manager with OpenStack to do all that stuff. So that is the heart of the solution. What are the capabilities of that solution? I said it already. It's a self-catalog where the end user, the line of business user, or even the IT staff people can use that tool to deploy on request with a workflow what the line of business user requests. So often in the SAP space, users are requesting a system for 3 or 4 weeks to make some development and then give it back and do not use it. Then they are catching the development code, export it in, and bring it to another system. So that's the way why they have a very changing and very rapid deployment environment. So they need a solution where they can do a completely setup with only one click, and that is one of the key capabilities. I also said the complete infrastructure is covered by this tool, and you will see later some foils where I show you what different patterns we are using. As I said before, we have some requirements for production, so we have to use specific pattern for production and specific patterns for non-production. So that is a really flexible tool to set up the different use cases, and even as you see it in the down of the slide, we can use different tools. Especially in this case, we use Power Server, so we use Power VM, but we can use different hypervisors and different hardware as well. Pain point, I mentioned that in the introduction. It was really for the line of business that they had sometimes to wait too long to get the installations up and run for that they can rapidly beginning with deployment. So they want to now a solution where really they can, if the installation is approved, they can set up now SAP system in 25 minutes and they can begin working. Even with, we have a cost management there, that means the line of business requests the systems and they get charged for that. So as all that stuff is covered with the tool, so they have really no more pain that their IT staff is not able to provide it that fast as they need it. So we have now a huge or a big standardization of the applications level because every system is set up in the same way. And it's under full control of the IT staff. So they are not doing as it was sometimes in the past, that they created some shadow IT for development, and when they did their development, they went into production, but they have to set up really new IT stuff. So that was the reason why they selected a self-deploying solution. So here are some key features of the client. So they have Power servers as well in the database with Oracle DB, and now they have a huge demand for going to SAP HANA. We had there some appliances from IBM and HP there, even Scaleout systems. And this client was really, as you said, he was interested to bring HANA under AX for running. So he asked SAP more and more and often, but we get never the answer that it will come. But and I was responsible as well for this. I said that before. We selected 5 customers worldwide to do a test innovation program. And we started this in November 2014, where we migrated a 4-node Scaleout cluster to a scale-up solution on Power. We did the testing 5-6 months. Before then, the official ramp-up begins in April 2015. The customer continued what we already delivered in the test innovation phase. And so they get productive after we get GA in August 2015. Oh, there's a typing error. We get then last year the big RFP for setting up the solution, because they said, okay, we want to now going forward with HANA. And we are talking not about 5 systems. We are talking about 50 systems now that are right now on the systems running. So they did an RFP and they selected IBM with the cloud solution in the first quarter of this year. So before I start with the project, I will show you the setup of the test innovation phase. We only had a TDI server, a small IBM S24 with 20 cores, and even if, as you see here, you mentioned that your core-to-memory ratio, even in that phase, that was 2014, 2015, we didn't do the official core-to-memory ratio. We were there already above that, so we did there making the tests with the migration from the 4-node scale-out to a scale-up, and the customer did there also testing and see, okay, core-to-memory is fine, but for us, does that not work? We have so many systems, and we cannot spend for a 10 terabyte BW system, we cannot spend a fully E880 where we have 10-15% workload. So that was their first test in the test innovation phase. We did it there with an XIV attached storage. Not a big installation, but for testing and bringing back the solution from a x86 scale-out node to HANA and Power was very successful. No problem with the migration. That's a common or a known method for migrating a SAP system from a addition database to HANA or from Oracle to DB2. That's a known migration method. We saw at the first time that we need really a Linux specialist for setting up the loons and all that stuff, but we had really no big issues with them. Some recommendations, they are still valid for productive setup, to have a minimum of 4 active paths for performance, for getting all the I/O bandwidth or the latency, because in HANA you have to persist all the stuff when you are changing the database. The logs has to permit it to the storage with a low latency. And even if you start up HANA, you need a big bandwidth to bring all the data in memory. So there are some best practices to bring up HANA the best way on Power. LVM striping is also required or suggested to set it up. Yeah, and what you see here, number of volumes should be a multiple of the number of active paths. If you have more paths than 4, just do more.
Is LVM required?
It's not required, but we...
What I mean is that if you're on a storage network where it's already handled internally, you don't care if they voice that.
Yeah. So that's the overall picture from the solution. We have a compute cloud and we have a storage cloud. And between them we have the tools for deploying the storage and the server. What I did forget here is as well the SUSE manager, because we have also patching the complete environment. So that means the SUSE manager is also included in that environment. And the hardest is the cloud manager, where all workflows, all patterns are coded. And you see it here on the top. We have different users that can act with the system to request new systems. During this project, we also certified the GPFS file system in combination with the ESS, because the customer, and you saw that before, uses X6 appliances from IBM. They were built up with GPFS, so the customer was very happy with that file system. So he said, I want to use the appliance from IBM, the Elastic Storage Server, which is an appliance with power servers, but in the heart he uses the GPFS file system. So we set up this storage cloud at the beginning. Here is more an application overview diagram. Even on the right upper corner, you see we integrated the complete solution with the CMDB of the customer. Because when we set up a system in the CMDB, all the information, which SID, which IP address, and all that stuff has to be covered. Because when a line of business user is requesting a new system, you cannot double the SAP SAD. So that's all when we are deploying, or even when we are removing a SAP system, all is, or the CMDB of the customer is also updated. That's application that owns the customer by himself, self-developed application, but he provides us some interfaces to connect to that solution as well. PowerVC, HMC are all in the case, but what we selected as well, and that's really one of the most used cases or one of the top technology, what we integrated here, we integrated Infiniband for the network or for the connectivity to the storage. As backup solution, we integrated as well a network, 10 gig Ethernet or even 100 gigabit Ethernet, but the customer wants to set up in the first choice with Infiniband. That's as well covered in this solution. And you see it here, where I have had a dual wire setup and set up our different LPARs in this servers. So that is only the setup for one data center, because we first did all the setup for one data center, and now we are right now, since September, we are going to the setup of the second data center, where as well we use SUSE HAE for getting a cluster solution and SAP system replication to fulfill the requirements from the customer when they have huge ERP systems where they cannot use, or they want to minimize the downtime. So we have to use as well cluster solutions. Another, just that you see what we did. But now I want to show you the technical setup from a productive LPAR. You see we have an Infiniband connection to the storage, but as well we have network connection. We set up shared storage pool with the V3000 storage. That's just for the Linux boot devices. They were attached over SAN. Dual VIO setup with virtual network over Ethernet. And for that setup, we selected in the LPARs dedicated Infiniband adapters. So that the restriction for that we set up dedicated adapters is that we can't use live partition mobility to migrate the LPAR to another server, but we implemented for that case, if the customer wants to use as well live partition mobility, we have now the network interface over gigabit Ethernet to make the connectivity to the ESS storage over network. So they were shared and not dedicated. So we had a small restriction, but we had to work around about this to get it set it up that we can move if we have to probably update a firmware of a server. We could move the application running with live partition mobility.
Are you saying that the data is being accessed using Infiniband, but you use Ethernet to enable live partition?
Yeah, that's what I wanted to say. If all is running, they use Infiniband for the connection. But if they want to migrate because they have to, and we had dedicated LPARs, a dedicated adapter in the LPAR, so that with that it's not possible to do a live partition mobility. So if they want to do that, we start a script migrating the connection from the Infiniband adapter to the network adapter, and then we can do live partition mobility. But that is all running when the application is up and running. And then we can use the live partition mobility feature.
And then you can then go back to Infiniband.
That's it, yeah. So that's it, yeah. That's
so you have a slight performance degradation.
We have a performance degradation during this time, yeah, that's right.
How long it takes to migrate the 4 terabytes?
We have a customer that is migrating a live BW system with 1 terabyte in 10 minutes. 10 minutes. And I'm in conversation with our network guys. They say that is even much better to do, even with the in-memory database. So here we didn't make that with the productive LPARs right now because there are not only 500 users working with that system, there are much more. But we are able to do that, and we try that always with the test and development system. And you see that here, we have Infiniband that is a very fast connection. And as well, we have separated LANs for doing the live partition mobility. So that means we can do it as fast as the other customer.
Do you have to wait for local? I mean, suppose you have a shop that's 24/7.
That is a shop 24/7.
And he was able to find 10 minutes to move over. Nobody noticed. Nobody
knows that. That's already working with traditional database since a long time. So that is the reason why I say when you have a HANA database of 1 terabyte, not all the 1 terabyte is totally changed the whole time. That's as well only a small part which is changed all the time. And so you can do that with the most part. You can do it. Nobody knows that. And you have a short break when you switch from one server to the another. That's but if you have a transaction that is rightly running at this moment, that will break and you have to do it again. But the most thing is not affected. For the non-production, we have no Infiniband adapters, but the complete setup the same, even with other core-to-memory ratios. Why I show that complex photo? Because for setting up this setup with a cloud, you have to think only about really the network setup. That's the most important thing that you have to decide. Even if we have different protocols, we have used Infiniband, we have gigabit Ethernet adapter, we have 10 gigabit Ethernet adapter, we use shared storage pool where we have a SAN attached storage, and that is, we have different kind of networks where the users are using. We have a network where the admins are using. We have a network for doing all the live partition mobility stuff. So that was the hardest part, to set up really the network that we use. And that was the overview diagram of this. You see it here only for one data center, but that is what the most architectural effort was in. The goal of the customer was to set up a 16 terabyte database, BW database, productive system. So it was clear that we have to set up a scale-out solution, because right now at the moment we have for BW we have 4.8 terabyte, which is approved from SAP. For ERP solutions 9.1 terabyte for a HANA database in one LPAR. So that means for 16 terabyte HANA database we needed a scale-out solution. We had different solutions. I show you here which one is selected. So we said that each LPAR carries about 3 terabyte of memory. As you see it here, we were very conservative. We just selected 64 terabyte per core for the core to memory ratio. At the beginning, we started with SLES 11 SP4. As I mentioned before, Linux bootix attached via shared storage pool over the BIOS. So that means when you set up a 16 terabyte node, you need 5 worker nodes and a standby node, and all the other stuff we have talked about it. Infiniband adapters, fiber channel adapters, GPFS as file system. So and the solution looks like then for one server when we choose 3 terabyte LPARs, we can bring up 3 buildings block. The customer is talking only about building blocks. So we have separated building blocks for setting up that. Even for the BIOS, we build up a best practices setup what is fitting for the customer. So that means for a 64 gigabyte per core ratio, we had, because at this time the E880 was carrying 16 terabyte of memory, Now we have doubled it since April, so we can use 32, but at this time we could use 16 terabyte. You see it here, we have selected 3 terabyte HANA LPARs, 3 of them, so we are able to grow for a 4th. And that was the building block which we used. The solution looks like then that, so that is a scale-out solution. And even if the customer wants to grow with much more scale-out solution, he could grow over the 6 servers. He could bring out scale-up solutions, scale-out solutions all over the servers. And that was our setup for the goal of the customer, because he wants to see how is the architecture for bringing up a 16 terabyte database on your architecture. As I mentioned there on the right side, flexible HANA system size. Even if the customer wants to say, I want to use now 4 terabyte blocks and do not want to use 5 servers, we are able to do that. So there is no big deal to change that. Even we are right now in work with SAP to enable what we already can do with our technology and power to bring up more cores and more memory in the LPAR. We can do that with running servers, but HANA is right now not getting, when we add more memory to the LPAR, HANA is not able to get it in the runtime. So we have to restart the database, but we are working together to make that happen in the future. So, and then this solution, it's really flexible that we can grow and shrink our different building blocks. Yeah.
So what do you recommend for the network there? Do you recommend Infiniband?
No, I do not recommend Infiniband. It depends, but this customer wants to use Infiniband, so that's brand new technology. And to be honest, we had some engineers in the field where to get all the stuff up and running, but you need a high bandwidth network, so that means 10 or 100 gigabit Ethernet, so that's good enough. We have only attached Infiniband for the enterprise storage server, but you can touch it even with other network connection.
So how much is the network
We have 56 gigabyte Ethernet over InfiniBand right now. Yeah, there's nothing special about a network. So we have just connected redundancy, our different servers with the different network over InfiniBand switches or even network switches. The other possibility, and I will go through that very quick, was to select E870s, where we have had at this time only 8 terabyte of RAM physical per server and 80 cores. That means we could only set up E880 with 2 building blocks. That is a little bit limitation. So the customer says, okay, I want to grow more. Even when we have 8 terabyte, we have to bring up a new server. So for him, it was better to build a solution on bigger servers than on this one. But even as you see it here, it works as well for a 16 terabyte scale-out cluster. Here we had the 4 terabyte nodes. They are allowed. We can scale to 4.8 terabytes per LPAR, so we can do that as well with 4 terabyte nodes and a standby nodes. That's the solution SAP suggests as well for going in scale-out with a standby node. So that works as well. But the scalability to bring other systems in that system or in that solution is to extend more servers then. Same. So elastic storage server for who do not know really good about that system. That's a Linux system or power systems running Linux. We have disks there inside, and the heart of it is the GPFS file system, which does all the configuration and all the distribution of the data to the complete solution. So we have different.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but what percentage of the customer base is on Red Hat versus SUSE?
This solution is only running with Red Hat now. About what do you want to know?
Well, I just want to know, if you go to Red Hat, are you going to be an outlier? Because everybody's on SUSE, right?
Yeah, Red Hat is only the operating system for the 2 nodes where for the Linux servers. They are running Linux, and on that Linux the GPFS file system is running.
Percentage-wise, how many do you know? It's 10% of the population is running on Red Hat HANA, or 50%?
Oh yeah, I know that. That's right now 95% are running on SUSE. Okay. Right, Red Hat is on the market since 2014 June on x86, even not on Power. So we see that next year. But SUSE started 2010, 2011, so the market share is completely on the SUSE side, and they have much more expenses right now in the HANA space.
So it's risky.
It works as well. We have customer in Germany. They are running Red Hat with HANA as well, but the mainstream, I will say it like this, is from my point of view, is SUSE. So even if in the German, Switzerland, and Austrian region, SUSE is a German company. You know that. So it's very close to SAP. That's 150 kilometers to drive. For me, it's clear why they selected SUSE to be the first provider. So
we would say Red Hat is yes.
Okay. Okay, a different appliance. It's an appliance. It's a storage appliance. So it's really one-time setup, and then you have just to grow. That was the solution what we certified during that project, because it's a storage, backend storage, which was not on the official certification side from SAP that you can use that storage. Customer wants to use it, so we did all the effort for getting certified this storage as well in the project.
And PowerVC connects to that storage?
Yeah, of course, yeah. PowerVC connects to that, yeah, and deploys the storage, yeah.
Okay.
We have all developed that in the project, so you see later foil, you have to only bring in some parameters. That means how big is your database, what is the SID, and we have all the pattern, what you need. If you have set up a HANA database, the necessary storage is defined by SAP, so you can script that and code it in software, so that's no problem. So we did that all, and under the head, we use PowerVC, HMC to set up HMC for setting up the profiles, PowerVC for deploying Linux operating system, deploying the storage. We use SUSE Manager for doing the updates to the operating system, so that is all in the solution included. Yeah, here you see the solution stack, all what is included. So the hardware stack is what we said, E880s, the ESS solution, network Infiniband, gigabit Ethernet, and even SAN storage for the root volume groups. The virtualization, we had PowerVM and SUSE Linux as operating system. And as management level, we use PowerVC and HMC. And in the cloud orchestration, we had as well do the virtualization management, the monitoring we set up for the complete solution in the ICO. All the patterns, what I said to you, if you set up a productive LPARs with dedicated Infiniband adapters as we set it up, or non-productive, different core to memory ratio if you are in production or non-production. Self-service, we talked about this, that the customer can really use a web front end to bring that different solutions up and running. Yeah, PowerVC was a system management tool for doing the self or the deployment, not only of the images, even for the storage. We use PowerVC. Component model of the IOC, I will not talk about this. So here, what you see here, that is what we coded. That is when the customer creates a single HANA node. You have to set up different sets. We have a request, we have an approve, where you see the different steps, what you have to do for the approve step. Create an LPAR, post-installation after what you have to do to optimize the SUSE stuff, to set up that it works properly with HANA. Create a network, that means to distinguish between Infiniband for productive, non-Infiniband for non-productive. Configure the GPFS file system and the necessary storage. And what is on the backside, I cannot read it even. Yeah, to create a HANA database. And after that, if you have created the HANA database, you need as well an application server for setting up the environment that your end user can log in. So that is all what we did code. Even here, as you see it on the down of the slide, update the CMDB of the customer, because we have a very rapid changing environment, and you never know if there is another line of business requesting a new SAP system. They do not care about the SAP SID, so you have to update the customer database about this stuff as well. The approve process is here shown, that even the line of business manager has to approve, because he has to pay for that installation. And even the IT staff has to approve it, because we have to make capacity management. That is also in the responsible right now by the IT department. But it's completely full automated, so they get only a notification, and they have only to to acknowledge it and say, okay, go for it. So that's a process which was defined by the customer to set it up like this way, that we have a little bit from the IT department the control of what is going on in the private cloud. Even we have the use case, because that was often requested by the customer, to change the data, to change the HANA installation, to set up an additional application server, because we are getting more and more workers or users on the installation, or the database is growing, so that means we have to bring in more cores and more memory. So even this was part of the project, and we did that. Here you see, it's not that good seeing, but that is the front end what the customer is using. You see on the top, you see which kind of workload. You use a BW or ERP. You are using a productive or non-productive, and what service level agreement you are using. When you are, as we show it here, a non-productive and a BW, the customer has 3 different service levels. That means bronze, silver, and gold. So here in this time it was bronze. He has to enter the SID and the instance number and how big is the database. That's all what he has to enter. And after that, you see a summary, what is requested and how the CMDB of the customer is updated. And even you see it here for the non-production databases or HANA setups, we have a core to memory ratio of 265 gigabytes per core. So that's all coded in the patterns of the ICO, where when the deployment begins, they are getting the rules out of the solution and then are deploying with these rules. Here you see at Wells, who is known with the HANA database. If you have a HANA database of 5 terabytes, you need physical memory in the LPAR from 10 terabytes. Migration, because the customer has already done that so many times, we use the classical SAP migration. That means the software provisioning manager for deploying the software. When we are deploying SAP, we use this tool from SAP, and for the database migration option we use when we are migrating from Oracle to HANA right now. That's no big problem. The last false of the seat that you see it right now, that is the backup solution. We are right now on one side. We have integrated the Tivoli Storage Manager, AK Spectrum Protect now, where we back up the data from one data center to the other data center. And here you see the next steps. HADR setup, I talked already about that, and we are right now nearly done with that stuff. Integration of system replication for really critical ERP solutions where the customer is acting with more than 5,000–6,000 users all over the world. So we need a really cluster solution and to minimize the downtime if we have to switch from one server for downtime for which is not expected. So we need a very good solution for setting up that. He does not want to use for all kinds of solutions storage replication, because you have then to set up 2 different or the same LPARs on both servers. So we can as well, if the customer has a reload phase from 1 hour, we can use storage replication as well. That means you replicate the storage on that side and you might get a remote restart on the other side with the server when you have 1 hour available for getting up back. Integration of snapshot solution is as well for doing more efficient backups, not with TSM regular backup, as well with snapshots. And the customer is using SAP LVM, that means Landscape Virtualization Manager, for cloning SAP systems, setting up QR systems, refreshing systems. So that is what we are looking right now. The solution looks right now like this. So we have set up the same environment on both sides, doing a cross backup from one data center to the other. And we can now provide as well the silver and the gold medal service levels agreement for the customer. He's operating worldwide. He has around 400,000 employees in the world, has different data centers in Europe, even in the US and in Singapore. And we have to set up for some critical systems, even an asynchronous system replication to Singapore or to the US. That's in the near future what we have to do as well. So that was it from my side for that project. And my summary is for that dynamically what the customer sees and for the flexibility what we see on our power servers, that's the only platform for bringing up such a big installation for rapid deployments, even deleting of SAP system, getting out the development from the line of businesses, bringing that back to other systems. And we did a complete setup from the project beginning of May until September. So in September, the client talked in Vegas at IBM Edge, and even on the Tech Edge, he showed a presentation about his setup, and he's, as you see it here, he was also running SAP HANA on x86. But he has so much benefits now. We have better performance. We have not that, how will I say that, not so big administration effort for bringing up scale-out solutions. We can scale more. We have a flexibility for deploying more LPARs on one server with the flexibility of PowerVM. So we have, right, even if we are only since 1.5 years available for HANA and Power, we have a much better solution than on x86. And I think what is also important when you are a customer having many SAP installations, you cannot migrate your complete installation from traditional SAP solution to HANA on Power or to HANA in 1 or 2 years. So that's a journey. And with our platform, you are able to run Linux, AX, i5OS on one server, different workload. You can run traditional web server application. You can run SAP applications. You can run new stuff as SAP HANA, and on all combined on one platform.
The deployment where the customer selects what type they want.
Yeah.
How does that update in service marketplace? How do you get the licenses from SAP?
The licenses the customer has already. He's bought the complete SAP.
It's not just click on one click there. When the system comes up.
The licenses are available at the customer, so he has not to think about it.
Okay, but what I'm saying, when the system comes up,
yeah,
it's got to be registered with service.
Yeah, it gets registered. Yeah. Huh?
That's a manual step.
We can automate that as well, but right now the customer wants to do it by himself because sometimes he needs only a temporary license because they have a project lifetime from 3 or 4 weeks, so then they will not update it. But that is well in the roadmap of the customer to do that step as well, automatically.
But for the DR, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Can we have 16 worker nodes and 1 standard node?
16 terabyte?
No, 16 worker nodes and 1 standard node, or should be 16 altogether?
For this large configuration, I say SAP recommends to have at least 2 standby nodes, but you can have 1. Yeah, that's right. That's running. So that's just how you are secure that that solution will run. You do not have to at least 1. If you say you are not implementing SAP HANA with a standby, if one node breaks, your application does not work. But from my perspective, when you ask me, I will not set up on Power a solution with 2 standby nodes. 1 is enough for me. The platform is reliable. I do not see that we have problems with only one standby node.
You talked about the big engine and little engine a few minutes ago. Is there any ways to migrate from big engine to little engine, or we need to install everything from scratch?
You have to install everything from scratch. You can do that in parallel, but if you change from big to little engine, you have to export a database and import a database. So that's the reason why you have to set up in parallel and then do when you have the downtime for migrating the database. That's the same if you are doing a migration from Oracle to DB2 or from Oracle to HANA. That's the same procedure, so nothing special about it. It's just an effort to do that. But as I said before, it's very important that we have now the little engine enablement. That's the same like on x86. So migrations in the future will be very, very efficient. They have the same endiness, so probably you can imagine for migration in the future when you have already little engine, it's just to copy the data or to bring the loons to the new server. So that's... It's available. SAP will announce that this week. Yeah, and the code for HANA and Power Little Engine will be available. I heard that last week from SAP end of November. So it will be available end of November, and then even IBM will start to. It's not. We'll start to enable as well Red Hat for HANA and Power because we have demands for that. But for the little engine code, it's available end of this month.
What will happen to the big engine?
They will be supported until SUSE supports SLES 11 SP4. That is until 2019, and so you have the freedom to migrate when you are already productive on HANA and Power. You can migrate in this time frame to the little engines. It's supported and it's running until 2019.
Okay, and it will only mean that that exporting and importing.
That is the effort you have to make.
Understood.
Yeah.
For DR, how do you handle DNS updates?
Sorry.
For disaster recovery.
Yeah.
You move to remote site.
Yeah.
What do you do for DNS?
DNS?
Yeah.
That's
the names change, right? The IP address is changed.
No, we change not the IP address.
But how do you? I mean, if I have
We have a service IP address, a virtual IP address, and that is moving.
Yeah, but if I have a site in the UK and a site in Singapore, they're not going to have the same IP address.
Yeah, we are not right now in this scenario, but we have now different data centers in Germany. They are 50 kilometers far away, and there it's working with the same IP address, service IP address, virtual IP address. But for the Singapore side, we have as well not a synchronous replication of the database. We have to do asynchronous replication. And when you are doing asynchronous application, that means you have not all the data available what you have before the disaster happens, and then you can use other IP addresses as well. Yeah.
So when you have to bring it up where it's not on the same IP segment, what is your strategy for dealing with that?
We run that application with a distinct of 1 hour or half an hour, how much it is, and you change the application layer to bring it to the new address when a disaster happens. So that runs on a separate IP address. You have only to change the application server, and that you have not to point to the data centers that are running in Germany or wherever, sondern to the Singapore side. More questions? Yep, it's nothing special. So I already gave that to SUSE, so it should be available for download.
And it's all recorded.
It's all recorded. So probably the last thing what I said or want to say, I have never talked about a platform for the application server. The client is still using AX as application server, but as well here we are in the way to evaluate if in the future the client wants to install, even on the Power servers, a Linux LPAR that is working as application server. But for the change from the traditional database to HANA and Power now, he wants not to change as well the application stack. We changed the complete database stack, the operating system, and the deployment. So one step after the other. So in future, it's possible that the customer runs a really homogeneous SAP landscape. That means one operating system for database and application stuff as well. So thank you.